team, but I won't do that. I will have to say that many of these, I think I have met every single one of them when they were pretty much sitting in your seats here. I am so honored to see them here today. I'm so honored to have known them when they were young folks sitting in these pews. They're still young, but they're a great bunch of alums, and they're a great example of the Medill brand. So I'm going to start off with Bill Healy. Come on down and grab a seat. He's a freelance journalist. We also have Bethany Hubbard, editor in Science and Society. We also have Todd Johnson, multimedia. He's at the Griot, and you can probably catch him some mornings if you're up early enough at MSNBC. I do get up a little early. Melina Kolb, who I usually see her behind the camera and not in front. She's a documentarian for all our documentarian folks. And one of our most recent graduates is Jordan Schultz. He's graduating in December, and we also have now Brittany Kaplan, who's for all of our magazine folks. And we're so glad she's here. And we're going to just have a free-flowing conversation here, and I'm going to let you all have first question for our alums. Or how about this, before we do, for a brief 30 seconds, talk about what was your concentration and a little bit more detail of what you're doing now. Well, can go from you can start.
All right. My name is Bill Healy. I guess the concentration I did in Medill was interactive and multimedia and urban reporting as well. And right now I'm a freelancer at WBEZ Chicago Public Radio, which is the local NPR affiliate here. Yeah.
Bethany Hubbard. I was magazine writing and editing with a heavy focus on health and science and some interactive as well. And I work at Northwestern now. I run an online science magazine called Helix, which is through the Office for Research.
What's going on? My name is Todd Johnson. I went to Medill as an undergrad, graduated in 2008, and then couldn't get enough, so I stayed through for the master's program and finished actually with Bill and Melina in 2009. My concentration was broadcast and videography. I did urban reporting as well during my master's program. What I'm doing now, I work for a website called thegrio.com. It's affiliated with NBC Universal, more specifically MSNBC, and I do shooting, writing, on-camera stuff, and occasionally sneak on air when I can. And we do news and stories of interest to African Americans and the like. So that's what I do.
Mm-hmm. I'm Melina Kolb. I graduated with Bill in 2009, and I concentrated in interactive storytelling. After school, I started my own video production company, and currently releasing a documentary on PBS. And on top of that, my day job is working at a marketing agency.
Hi, I'm Jordan Schultz. I feel like I'm the baby of the bunch, but I don't know if I'm actually the baby, but I'm the baby MSJ. But yeah, so I graduated in December, and I currently work, I guess I studied business journalism, interactive producing, and then I was like one class shy of magazine writing concentration as well. And now I work for the Red Eye. I'm the web editor there and the interim news editor. It's the commuter paper for the Chicago Tribune.
Hi, my name is Brittany Kaplan, and I graduated in 2007. My concentration was the magazine editing and writing, and currently I am a features editor at Lux Interiors and Design magazine. It's an architecture and design magazine, and I produce the Chicago edition.
Thank you all. Going to open the floor up for questions for our alums. Yes, Bethel.
Where do you live in Chicago? And would you recommend it, yes or no? I'll take that. I also went to undergrad at Northwestern, so I was already living in Chicago when I came back to Medill, but I recommend it because Chicago is wonderful, and I think one of the best things about this program is that you're close to Chicago, and you get to, even if you in the newsroom, you get to be in Chicago. I lived in Andersonville while I was doing the program, and then most recently I'm in Lakeview, and now I'm moving to Edgewater, but all of them are accessible by the L. If you live off of Belmont, you can take the Purple Line Express, which goes straight from Belmont to Howard and straight up here. But it's, they also have the inter-campus shuttle, so if you wanted to live downtown, you could take the inter-campus shuttle from the downtown campus up to Evanston, and it's only like a 40-minute ride, and it's very lovely. It's along the lake, so I recommend it.
I've been in Chicago for 12 years now, so I really love this place, and I definitely recommend. I always live in the city. When I was in school here, I lived in Bucktown, and I know people who lived in like Ravenswood, which is really accessible by the Metra, which is another. Okay. Let's see. Bucktown is sort of northwest side near Wicker Park, and Ravenswood is also kind of northwest-ish.
It's close to Andersonville as well.
Yeah. But yeah, the Metra is great. Another great option. It can take you straight downtown or up to Evanston.
I have a question for Jordan. Since you are the baby Medill, you graduate in December. Now that you're on the other side, share for these students who are going to be the next group in, what is it from your Medill experience that you think was integral for you landing your first role?
So the web editor role actually wasn't my first role. I was working for a B2B for 3 months, and I didn't really enjoy it, so I ran away. When I got to the red eye, I was like, "You're breaking me out of jail right now." But honestly, it was the Medill network. So every job that I've gotten has been through a Medill person. Every connection I've made has been because either a professor, an instructor, or a fellow student of mine had landed a job, got me in the door, or I'd spoken with career services and they introduced me to someone who introduced me to someone, and it was just all Medill networking. That was kind of my investment here was buying into the sort of worldwide network that is Medill.
Okay. Anybody else want to answer the question before I go back out to the floor?
About where we live?
Yeah, I also got my job directly through the Medill network. So, that's one of the great things about Medill is that they're everywhere. So, I know that when I did theater here in undergrad, they used to call it the Northwestern Mafia. So it's kind of the same way with Medill, which is great because everyone's got your back. And, whether you want to work in B2B, magazine, broadcasting, whatever, there's going to be a Medill person there. So the network is extremely strong.
And I would say, too, that the GRIO was a startup within NBC in June 2009. I got the job in August 2009 because I actually graduated when the GRIO started. I always say that, I didn't get the job through a Medill connection because it literally, the website had just started with like 3 people out in New York. But I did get the job because of the skills that I attained here at Medill. So it's like, yeah, they may not have, given me passed my resume specifically to the people at the GRIO and NBC, but I wouldn't have got that job had I not been through the program and received the training and, that whole summer looking for a job and had that confidence that I gained working with people like Julie and Kim and Jim in career services and, of course, the actual program itself. So.
Well, thank you.
I will second. Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll second that. My first job was an editorial assistant in Los Angeles working for a magazine, and unfortunately, it got bought out by another company, and that new company actually let everybody go, but they were so impressed with Medill and my skill set and my network that they actually hired me, and they actually moved me to Florida to go work there, and I've been working for them ever since for the last 5 years, so it was actually really beneficial.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Go, Melina. Yeah.
I just want to add, we talk about this network, and I just want to emphasize that everyone is very accessible. You can contact anyone and just be like, hey, I went to Medill, I just wanted to ask you this question, or, do you know someone at your organization that I could talk to? And I've always gotten a response from everyone that I've reached out to. My documentary is on PBS right now because I literally just sent out an email, was like, hey, does anyone know anyone at PBS? Bam, within an hour, someone wrote me back, was like, here, you should contact this guy. I was like, oh, he's the vice president of programming. Great. So that was really easy.
Yeah, and I would say as a freelancer, Medill gave me the skills to be self-reliant and to know some of the things that you need to know to make it on your own and to be able to invoice, be able to follow up with people, and in addition to doing the reporting and coming up with ideas to pitch to people, you've got to kind of run your own small business on the side. And I would say Medill, in some ways, prepared me for that, definitely.
I'm going to go to the floor for this question here. Yes.
So I don't talk about the Medill network. Does it extend? Brittany kind of touched on this, and I thought too. You're in New York, and you said you were in LA. Does the network extend beyond this Chicago region and East Coast and beyond? I don't know if you guys can talk about that.
I think absolutely. You know, I'm on a Medill New York listserv where people are constantly asking for leads on jobs. You know, even apartments, things like that. I mean, it's not just employment, but recommendations for a number of different things. So it definitely extends outside of Chicago and New York and D.C. I experienced D.C. really for the first time during my MSJ program, and I was just wowed by how strong the presence of Medill is in D.C. And that kind of took me by surprise. I was like, wow, I feel like I'm in Chicago because, you would think Medill's main campus was on D.C., and I was only there for, 3.5 months, but it was strong, and I felt supported. So, yes, it does.
I want to have Belinda kind of chime in. Belinda is our Director of Alumni Relations, and she can definitely tell you the numbers and where. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in as manager of alumni engagement for all of Medill, all 15,000 thriving Medill alumni. We actually have official clubs in many cities, and I can name them for you. And an official club basically is a club that we help support that is run by and for Medill alumni in those urban areas. We certainly have the Medill Club that's very robust here in Chicago, in New York, in Washington. We have one in Philly. We have one in Boston. We have one in Europe. We just one in Shanghai, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. I don't think I'm missing any. We also have a new tool that you guys will come to know that is just now being rolled out that the university has put together and spent many years on, which is an online community for all Northwestern alumni. Within that, Medill has its own portal, and the club pages have their own subspaces. But in addition, some of the smaller cities, not even small, but cities where we don't have formal clubs, we're probably going to start rolling out smaller communities within those urban areas. Atlanta is a good example, Portland, Oregon, Seattle. So I think, to Malia's point, Medill grads are everywhere, and because of the nature of technology and email and the virtual world, you can pretty much access anybody anywhere. But we make a really huge effort to get out there. The dean told you yesterday, he's all over the place. He's constantly traveling. We throw parties, we have gatherings, we have happy hours, networking events. So we really are physically out there too. So I think you'll see it just continues to grow locally also.
And in journalism, you need those happy hours. So, Belinda, thank you.
Oh, I'm going to go with Dawn, and then I'll go with Mary, and then I'll come over here.
Can you talk about some of the challenges you face during your entry to Medill and how you feel the school or your professors help you?
Couldn't hear it. Could you repeat it?
The question wasn't, could you repeat it again, Dawn?
Can you talk about some of the challenges you face during your matriculation to Medill and how you feel the program or certain professors help you?
Did you all hear the question?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I can answer that. That is a great question. So I had the undergrad experience here at Medill, which was challenging in and of itself. But undergrad, I had an opportunity to do lots of other different things and clubs and sports and interests and all. I was all over the place. During my MSJ experience, it was obviously, it's a tighter window. It's more, it's like pressurized in a sense because, that's kind of the last call for your academic life, and you got to get a job. But what was challenging was, learning to take criticism. Because I had finished the undergrad program. I just thought I knew everything there was about broadcast journalism and shooting. But I was just kind of blown away that even in that short amount of time, my skill set could be sharpened. So it's basically, I think dealing with criticism and kind of overcoming that of your work, of your writing, your reporting, your story pitches, people telling you your pitch was kind of, it's, not that compelling, or you come back with something that you spent so much time on and then your professor tears it up. but tears it up with love, you know? That's what they do in Medill. They, you know, they'll mark your whole life up with red, and then they'll, you know, give you a smile afterwards and say it's going to be okay. But you come to appreciate that love, honestly.
I would say, I mean, I came in as a career changer of sorts. I was actually doing theater in Chicago for 4 years before I came into Medill, and so for me it was just a completely new experience. I didn't come from a journalism background, and you know, they kind of throw you into the deep end, which is great because it's all immersive and you learn to swim on your own. But you have so much support because I mean, the great thing about these classes coming in is they are so diverse. So you will have people who have the experience, who can give you tips. You have people who are in the same boat as you, and then the professors are just so supportive. I mean, they understand that this is a very fast, you know, immersive program. In only a year, you're doing so much. And I felt after the first quarter, I mean, I was so jazzed. Just like, this is great. You know, you're going out into the city and you're interviewing people, and yeah, it's challenging, but you have that support because your classes become so close-knit, because there aren't a ton of you, honestly, and you really get to know everyone really well.
Yeah, I would say I came into Medill from being a teacher, being a fifth grade teacher here in Chicago. And so Medill helped me to shore up the skill sets that I needed as a journalist. But then also it was I guess the time when we entered was really when newspapers were cutting their staffs, and it was really a heady time about which way the industry would go. And I think Medill was also changing at that time. And I think, you know, what it gave me was the need to be adaptable and the need to be flexible and to roll with the punches and to go where the industry goes and to, to be adaptable, really.
And, you know, the industry is sort of still figuring itself out. And I think that sort of leads into what I was going to say, that one of my biggest challenges is, like, I like to do everything, and you really have the opportunity to do everything. So for someone who is very ADD in that sense, it was difficult to sort of pick and choose which paths to walk down. And so I think that guidance, following your heart, there's lots of things that sort of come out of Medill, and definitely there are folks around to help you figure those things out.
Thank you. Mary, ask your question, then we're going to come over to the side.
So I'm assuming at least some of you may have taken out some student loans to trying to function, and in light of starter salaries, have, you know, sort of a really honest question, but have you...
All right, you're getting too personal now. Prayer. Yeah, just talk to Julie like pretty much every day of your life. That's why I'm so close with Julie now. We're just attached for life. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about specific answers to questions. It is hard. There's no way around it. You know, I wish Medill was free, honestly, but it's expensive. I don't even want to know how much it is now. But the corny answer is that it's worth it. As far as my loans and my situation, yes, it's a struggle. I'm working and living in New York, which has caused me to live conservatively, which ironically has helped me, though, kind of get a handle on my loan situation. So it's a good thing. It is a struggle, though. It's not something I necessarily lose sleep over, but it requires a lot of creativity and, you got to pay it.
I'll also give a very honest answer. So documentaries, not the biggest money-making kind of job career, but with those same skills, I've been able to reach out to more commercial entities, do other kinds of projects to support myself, and I've done really well. Like, I was running my business for 4 years full-time. So you will find that there are many options out there. I mean, if you need to supplement something while you get your career going, like, you can always reach out and do some videos or write for, a commercial publication. A lot of people that I graduated with do marketing and that kind of thing. So there are ways to utilize what you have and make it work.
Yeah, and if you see it as an investment, I think that's the real priority here, is to make sure you're looking at this over the long term. And I think initially, right out of Medill, it's a little scary because you see the amount that you owe in loans, and it's like, will I ever be able to pay that, especially for me as a freelancer? But, you know, you'll get through it. I did, and other people have. And I think, you know, initially I had to work at a law firm for a little while I was working on stories on the side. And that helped me get more secure footing and feel more stable that I could pay these bills, and kind of wean myself off the law firm and onto more freelance work. And but it helped me to feel more stable and secure in being able to pay those loans.
Yeah, thanks, Bill, especially you're doing with the freelance that you're able to manage that, so I do greatly appreciate that. Questions over here? I'll come back over here. We'll start with Jessica, and then we'll go to Dean. You're welcome.
So I know, Todd, you mentioned that you did the DC experience. I was wondering if you could all talk a little bit about how global or DC impacted your experience at Medill and your career afterwards, and what employers thought of that.
DC was awesome. It was so much fun. You know, my professors, Mary Kaufman, Sharon Cornelli, Matt Schrock, the video guy, I mean, I'm still in communication with them to this day. I mean, the campus, they did renovations, of course, like the week after our class was finished, so I'm not hating on that. But the experience itself, being so close to the White House, feeling like you're on an episode of like Scandal, you know what I'm saying? It was just a great experience. I mean, and the Medill presence was so strong in the nonprofit sector. You know, folks that work for the White House, press aides, communications folks. I went on Capitol Hill. I covered, you know, hearings, and I was on the education beat in D.C. So I saw, you know, Michelle Obama came to speak at a high school graduation. I covered, you know, all of the creative things Michelle Reed was trying to do at that time. And it was just a lot of fun. It was a change up of Chicago, but the same kind of challenging yourself to cover stories, really, you know, open myself to new possibilities. And the last thing I'll say is in D.C. for the broadcast program, we, in addition, you know, in urban reporting here in Chicago, you have the ability to, obviously you're posting stories to Medill's site, but you're also providing stories for other stations. You know, it could be a station in North Dakota. I covered the spelling bee down in D.C., and there was some television station in the Virgin Islands that wanted coverage of the student that was there from the Virgin Islands. So I profiled this kid. I mean, he didn't win, but my story went, you would have thought he was Michael Jordan down there in the Virgin Islands. And that was a good feeling. It doesn't matter if, you know, it's just on the Medill side or if two other people see it. You feel like you're working and you are, you know, thriving in a sense, even though you're still in school. So it was a lot of fun.
I did global in London, and I did 3 months at The Ecologist, which is an environmental magazine, which sadly is no longer in existence. But it started in 1970, and it had been in print for years and years, and then it went online, and then the year right after I left, it folded, sadly. But it was an amazing experience. I would say those were some of the 3 best months of my life. And it was a really small publication, so they let me do a lot. I did 4 investigative pieces, which were really in-depth features. I did probably 15 Green Living pieces, some book reviews. They sent me out to report and all over the place. So it was an incredible experience, and just living abroad. And I think the reason I mostly did is I'd never studied abroad in undergrad, and it was just such a wonderful opportunity to have that experience along with this actually working for a publication. I will say London's very expensive, so if that's a concern of yours, think about what city you choose. People in my class also went to South Africa, to China, to India, all over. So I thought it was one of the most valuable parts of my Medill experience.
Thank you. Dean, you had the next question.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing.
Okay.
Any of you guys did the Watchdog program?
I think for most of them, Jordan, you were probably the only one here when the Medill Watchdog Project was going on. And
I didn't,
Oh,
unfortunately,
okay.
do it. Although I know that the folks that did do it loved it. I think that they found it really rewarding because it is, I mean, it's a job.
And Jordan, you did the Feed Project last
Yeah.
year. And you all who sat in Patty's presentation, you saw the video, the Feed, that was Jordan's group.
Oh, we showed feed? Fun. Fun. Yeah. So I guess shout out to staying in Evanston, Chicago. I definitely tussled with whether or not I wanted to go to DC or do global, and it just didn't seem to work out at every angle. And I'm so happy that I stayed because I did get to produce feed and had a blast doing it. And I think that you guys will have something similar, only a little bit more elongated, which is awesome. I could have used 10 more weeks to run that project. But yeah, it was really rewarding to stay here, for sure.
Love it. Question, and it takes you, then I come over to you, Beth. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
On that same thing, did any of you do
Night Lab with Jordan.
I work with them on a daily basis. I didn't do it, but I actually work with them now to test their products with the Tribune. And they do some really fun stuff. And definitely if you're interested in coding, I would go visit them, and they're really, really great.
I love it. Beth, we're going to go to, I'm sorry, Beth, we come back to you. Go ahead, Joe. We'll get to you, Courtney. Don't make me tell the joke again.
All of you, in one way or another, Todd, I know you touched upon the pressurized nature due to time frame that we're dealing with here. What reporter or what experience did each of you find to be most influential in this kind of finite time of working with?
All of them.
Yeah, all of them.
No, I mean, each quarter for me represented a different kind of pressure. The downtown newsroom experience was jarring. I think I said this to some of you last night. I was like, I felt like I had a job, and I was like getting a salary or something. I was like, oh, I got to feed my kids. I don't have any kids. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm still in school. But they're talking to me like, I really failed something. But so that experience was challenging because you're covering a beat and you have to come to the meeting with a worthwhile story. I mean, it sounds like, oh, I can come up with 10 story ideas, but no, you can't. And they let you know what's going to work and what isn't. So that was challenging. Like, I got to come to work with an idea. What am I doing today? You can't just like come in the newsroom and kick it and go on Facebook. So that was challenging. Then the Chicago broadcast the following quarter was coming up again with compelling video stories and having your professor, you thinking you had the best idea for this expose on this museum, and then your professor saying, well, that's boring. And then you're just crushed. And then you have to come back again and come up with something different. And then DC was another challenge in a different way because it was like the end. It was the last quarter for me before I was going to go out and get a job. So you start worrying about that. But, yeah.
I would say for me it was the magazine editing and writing quarter. Lots of different people you get to work with. There's lots of ideas that are happening, and there's lots of opinions that are being thrown around. But I would say that it was probably the most rewarding quarter that I had because I have formed relationships with those people who I still have today. One of the people that I worked with, I actually just assigned her a story last week for work, and it was so fantastic to be in touch with her again and to just have that network. So that was the most rewarding for me.
Yeah, I would say the first quarter was really difficult for me, but also probably the most rewarding in terms of being out in different neighborhoods in the city and doing beat reporting, in addition to doing classes here on campus. It was just like being, and I think the second quarter too, it's like being on a treadmill that doesn't turn off. And it can be overwhelming at first. But ultimately you look back on it, and by the second quarter you look back on the first quarter and think, oh, that was nothing. And then this third quarter you look back on the second quarter and say, oh, that was, and now, same thing.
And then you get out of the industry. No. No, Bill and I, in 2009, fall 2008, we were in Chicago, when Obama was elected. It was awesome. We were like the newsroom. We walked to Grant Park, and we were filing stories, the reaction of Obama winning the election and being in Grant Park, and people were crying. And we had these crazy, unique, original stories all over our website. That was incredible.
Yeah, and then following up with that, the last story I did in my second quarter was Rod Blagojevich getting arrested. Then it came out of that as well. Yeah.
Bill brought Rod down, I think.
That's the type of reporting you do here, Medill. You can bring down the governor.
Well, I was in the newsroom when the stock market crashed, and I remember watching it on the TV screens in there. And I was on the banking beat, and I was like, oh no. I better learn my stuff.
Yeah, but I think the great thing about Medill is that you become so efficient at everything that you're doing, and you just get things done so quickly. Like when I started my job, my boss was like, "You can slow down. Like you can relax. You don't have a deadline." I was like, "I know, but I have to do it," because you're just so focused and you become so good at what you're supposed to be doing. So you become a machine, Medill machine.
They did that to me too. Yeah. And then they handed me more work. So
They're like, "Wow, she got that done real fast. Give her
they're
something
like,
else."
"Wow, you are so on it and you are so good at it." And then it's like, "Oh wait, maybe I shouldn't have been there."
I love it. We'll take Courtney.
Sorry.
I was just wondering if any of y'all came in thinking you wanted to do something and then switched to another.
Everybody nods their head.
Maybe deciding after.
So let me tell you that I have been literally all over the board. Like I started off in methods and like local news I didn't think was my thing, and now I'm working in local news, right? So like that happened. And then I came from an economics background, so I have a master's in economics as well, and I wanted to do business reporting in the second quarter, so I did that, and I thought that I was going to do like investment banking or something really cool, and I studied farms. Like I studied I covered big agribusiness. And then I was like, oh, finally, I'm done with farms. And then I get to my innovation project and I do feed. So like literally everything changes, and being fluid in this business is really, really strong because you'll find that you get to pursue a lot of different interests.
Someone else is going to ask, because I do want to dovetail what Jordan just said about the being flexible and agile and how Medill helps you do that. So if you all can add that into your conversation, great.
I've always kind of been, I came in as an undergrad, broadcast, I'm going to go to the local market. I'm going to report on whatever local news covers in whatever market. I know Jim was talking about market 136, so I don't know where he is, but so that's what I thought I was going to do after undergrad. After my master's program, I sent out my tape, and I had some leads in a lot of different places, from Iowa to Idaho to Virginia to, that could have been my path. I at a job fair, saw the Griot as a startup website that was partnering with NBC, that was in New York. It was online, it was a digital property, so it wasn't the traditional on-air space, but they talked about the flexibility, there you go, Julie, of being able to report stories and then go on air and talk about them, or do stuff with local affiliates. I've been on WNBC a number of times for stories that I've reported on the Griot, MSNBC. So I'm but in a different kind of way, like through the back door. So that's not real. I haven't really changed my passion, so to speak, but maybe my path. And my, first job wasn't, in Virginia reporting on Channel 3 on, a court hearing or something. But and that's fine. I went kind of a different route. And I wouldn't have had that, thinking cap, so to speak, on to be open to that had I not been really kind of doing the same thing in the master's program. Because that's what we did. I mean, we produced stories for the site, and in Chicago broadcast we did the same thing. We had a website, but we were taking and putting the videos out to different stations and operating like a company, like a television channel. So
and I would say don't limit yourself, because I use skills from probably every class I took at Medill in my current position. I mean, I also am running a whole magazine by myself, but I do all the social media. I use the photojournalism skills I learned because I take a lot of the photos for the office, obviously the editing skills and the writing skills, but I also use the coding skills I learned in Interactive to do our newsletter, and we redesigned our whole website and did a whole new logo, and I was in charge of that. So, the more you can take, the better, because you'll just become that much more marketable and employable.
I think, the answer is that it's not a bad thing to change. I think you should change.
And I might have an interesting answer to that, too, just because one of the things they emphasized when I was here was your audience and who you're actually targeting with your writing or whatever you're making. So I've been able to really translate, my skill set to different kinds of clients. So, I was doing a lot of videos for nonprofits. I did a lot of videos for Northwestern. And then at the same time, right now I'm doing videos for McDonald's. So it's I can use those same skill sets and, just translate it to different, people who are actually watching my final work.
Okay, good.
For me, one of the things that I do at the radio station is a lot of photography, actually, which you wouldn't think radio and photos go together. But that was somewhere where I saw a need at the radio station. Was a lot of people were great at radio reporting, but their stories, then they'd put up like an iPhone picture. You know, they'd spend days and weeks on these stories and then have an iPhone picture, and it was like, you need something better to, to sell it to people. And so that was somewhere I saw a need, and so I adapted myself within the radio station to fill this niche. And I think that's something that all of you can do, is to try and figure out ways that you can be useful at whatever organization you're at or wherever you want to be. Even if it doesn't exist yet, it might exist in the future. And I think that was the case, yeah, for me.
Thank you. We're going to go with Ellen, and go ahead.
If you'd like to stay in Chicago after graduating, what are your suggestions for leveraging connections here? And do you suggest freelancing or doing an internship while you're a student too?
Well, Ellen, I'm going to answer the first part of the question. I'm sorry to jump. While you're a student, the chance to do an internship, Janice, is not an option. To do an internship while you're enrolled, you students really don't have a chance for that.
Sometimes you manage to do like a 1 day a week or something.
Okay.
You can't really be done in the first quarter, but just talk to us if you want to figure out a schedule.
So that's the first part of your answer.
I did an internship the summer that I was here at working in the communications department at Swedish Covenant Hospital doing health writing for them. And it was tricky because I was going back and forth to Evanston and downtown and biking over there, but I thought it was a good experience and something else to add to the resume. The editor I had there is now working at Imagination Publishing, and so she's still in Chicago, so you do make connections, which is pretty great. I would say, just use the Medill network because, like I said, whether it's professors or other people who have gone here, there are plenty of people who stayed in Chicago, and while I was in magazine writing and editing, we had a lot of those people come in. We had people from Chicago Magazine come in and from other publications. So you'll meet those people who come into your classes and just, write down their contact info. Make sure you save a Rolodex of all the speakers who come in and all the people you get to meet at different events because you'll need it later. And then you'll have that all there when you're going to apply to jobs, and you can email them and say, hey, you came into my magazine class. I really love what you had to say. Are you hiring?
The best way I've found a network is actually through work. Like, I'll be out at a job and meet people on the job. So it's literally like, hey, look, I'm doing this. I can do this. I'm qualified. Do you want my business card? Like, while you're out there working, you can also, get more clients or, talk to more people and get your name out there.
The Tribune Company is huge. So, it is, and even though it's been bankrupt in the recent years, and it's splitting in June, and they're probably going to fire some people, but then they're also going to hire people. There's jobs available all the time, is what I'm getting at, right? So, I'm hiring 5 people right now, and there's definitely jobs, really good jobs in Chicago. And back to the salary question, you don't have to be afraid of demanding a good salary either. The Tribune Company is huge and makes their employees comfortable when they hire them.
Very good.
Write down our email addresses.
All of them.
And in terms of, I was going to say, in terms of freelancing, that's a very good thing to do coming right out of Medill is to be pitch. And I think one thing is you have one idea and you think this is the idea, but really a successful pitcher is someone who puts out who has a lot of output and who is generating lots of good ideas frequently, and that's definitely something that coming out of Medill.
The Medill Career Service each year hosts a freelance workshop. So if anybody who's thinking about or want to just be prepared to, to start a career, have a career in freelance. Pardon me.
Everybody should go to that.
What Melina said. Everybody should go to that. Bethel, you had a question, I think, then Dawn, and then we'll go back here to you. Okay, sounds good. Start with you, Bethel.
I'm going to ask the classic, 11 question. What do you know now that you wish you knew?
I told you, Bill, someone's going to ask that question.
Relax, breathe.
I think don't forget to enjoy just being here and being in Chicago, and don't get so stressed out and caught up that you don't enjoy the city and you don't enjoy your classmates. Just go out and have fun every now and then. Go see a cool show. I heard you went to Second City, which is awesome because I went through their program. And just go enjoy the city. Go down to Navy Pier, go to the beach, and use those experiences to make you a better reporter. Like learn where you are and enjoy that.
I'd say be flexible, be open-minded about the process. Perhaps you will experience things that you weren't expecting to, and yeah, enjoy your classmates, because you never know how they're going to come back to you. You never know what kind of networks you're going to have, and it's really fun to kind of see that happen and to find people back again in your life. It's really cool. So enjoy that.
Yeah, and I agree. Finding ways to collaborate with the people in your classes, and even outside of Medill, I find that collaboration is so important. As a freelancer, you're one person, and so having another person to bounce ideas off of and to, hold your camera, hold your microphone, or just to be supportive of you is really crucial. So
I still am one of my friends who I went to Northwestern with about ideas. I'm like, what do you think of this? Is this a good idea? And she works at another magazine down in the city, but I still bounce ideas with her.
And the girls who were in London with me during Global, we still have the same Facebook thread going from when we were in London, and we just keep each other updated, and whenever someone's looking for a job, we all send each other leads, and so you'll become really close like that.
Yeah, and I would say to also see your peers as less of competitors and more of people who want to be doing the same industry work as you, and that helps, because when you see people as competitors, I think the instinct is to shut down certain parts of who you are, and it's just way more helpful to see them as people who can help. You guys can help each other get to where you want to go.
These cultural things are all awesome, totally true, but one practical thing: learn to code. There are some really great resources here, Night Lab being one of them. So learn to code. I can't tell you how frustrating it is to work with reporters, videographers that don't know how to publish their own material. And that is one of the strongest pieces of advice that somebody gave me on day one, was go take these coding classes.
I agree, because even if you're not using it, you'll know how to speak code. And so if someone's doing work for you, you'll be able to say, no, I know you can do that, or no, I know you can't. Yeah, learn to code.
And I professionally use the Night Lab. There are really great resources. Feed, I don't know what you guys got to see, but they were that really cool thing where you click on it and the sound goes. That's a Night Lab product. There's just, the resources are phenomenal. There's no reason not to.
Very good. Dawn, you were next, and then we'll go to Toby.
I wanted to know, do any of you attempt to get your work published with a news organization, maybe Bell, or how is it being published?
While at Medill or since?
Anybody want to
I
answer?
think I'm trying to think. I know the Virgin Islands, have a special. Is that what you mean, getting it out to somewhere else other than Medill's website, the stores? Yeah. Yeah. I think just not kind of separately, any reporting that I did, either I pitched or was assigned to do, was pretty much published to the Medill site itself. But even during Urban, there were, the Windy City Times and other publications were interested in the stories that we were coming up with. And, there were sometimes those editors would be emailing, Marcel, our professor, and asking, what is Todd covering or what is Bill covering? We'll take that as well. So it was more of a reflection of Medill's brand and the quality of the stories that other people were going to be interested in taking it too.
From what I remember, when you write stories for Medill News Service, it's automatically sent out to local publications, so you don't really you're not really pitching directly, those stories are automatically going out there. I remember a couple of stories just getting wider attention, and they were always unusual in some way. So if someone did some really cool multimedia piece, or there was some slideshow about TIFFs, which is the most boring topic you could probably talk about. It's tax stuff. So but they made it really interesting. So this might touch on the last question, is I wish I had explored, not just writing, your typical news story, but, actually going a little bit further with it and thinking of new ways to present the story. Like, I wish I had done more of that. So those stories tend to be the ones that get the most attention.
Yeah, sorry. I was saying, in magazine class, you're encouraged to try and freelance your pieces because they don't always get published. And I didn't have anything published outside, but I know that there were a couple people in my class who did. So, your professors want you to use the good work that you do and get it out there.
I definitely, in my class, I lackadaisically pitched a couple of things and have gotten contacts from my pitches, folks that, said they'd use me in the future, but never have had anything published yet. And then I also, I have a book agent now because of something that I pitched to him as a book idea. And although I couched that particular idea, he's willing to work with me in the future, and I have that contact in the bag. But I do know folks that wrote for The Atlantic while they were at Medill, folks that wrote, most of the DC folks I think also get bylines pretty regularly. UPI is a Medill Medill alum's brainchild, which is a business magazine out of DC. And they constantly are publishing our stuff, Wall Street Journal. And then Global, you work for papers, so you get bylines that way too.
Okay, I'm going to go to Toby over here.
My question is, it sounds like you all have ranging sort of the full gamut of skills and different media. And so my question is, how final, how conclusive is one's concentration?
It's not. It really isn't. So, like I said, I was all over the place. Magazine writing, I did our second quarter, I did interactive producing. I'm doing all of those things now. I have no experience in, other than, first quarter you do some audio recording and some video work, but I will be hosting a radio show for Red Eye, and then we're looking into going to the TV space, which I will be a part of as well. So that, I have no experience other than that I am talking to you guys. So yeah, there's never an end, never.
Yeah, I concentrate in interactive storytelling. I'm doing mostly video work now, so it does. Don't think of the concentration as like tying you down to one specific thing, but it's maybe one thing you want to get really good at, or expand. It's like, for me, I came into Medill already knowing a lot of video skills, so I wanted to learn a totally new area. So it was a way to just round out what my entire skill set was.
I would say practically it's just what you're thinking about a lot during the fourth quarter. But beyond that, yeah, you bring into bear all the skill sets that you've learned.
Okay, thank you. Courtney, we're going to take your question, then we'll come over to you, Nikki.
Just wondering, what were some of your favorite electives?
I'm teaching an audio reporting and production elective right now at Medill, so I would say take that.
I'm a big sports nut, so I took a sports and society elective with Lester Munson, who was like he said the word fantastic a lot, and I still say that word to this day. He's like a legal analyst for ESPN, and we reviewed everything from Michael Vick's, dog fighting case to, athletes getting in trouble and how they're portrayed and legally what happened. That was awesome. I took off the, I have to cover this deadline hat, and I could just kind of talk sports and understand the legal side of it. And that was great. Lester Munson is he's the man. I watch him on TV all the time, and there he is, just coming in and making us laugh and making us think about sports and legal issues in new ways. And I thought that was dope.
I took a design class that taught me how to lay out pages in a newspaper or magazine, and it gave me a much deeper appreciation when I got into the magazine world about what the art team has to do. So I respect a lot more what they do and what I need to do, and I feel like it makes us a much better team. We get things done a little bit faster because I understand what they need to do, they understand what I need to do, and it actually helps me. I come to them with ideas, they come to me, and so that was a really good class for me, personally.
I took 21st Century Media with Owen Youngman, which was really great, just thinking a lot more about the changing media landscape, the changing architecture of how journalism is and audience and all that, and that was a really great collaborative class. We did a lot of work together with our classmates and also lots of debates and whatnot. And photojournalism was really fun because you get to go out in the city and take pictures and feel really professional. Get your little badge.
I would also add the design class was great, even though I don't necessarily use design in my daily, but I kind of do, and everyone does to a degree, but it made me think in different ways. And then also while I was here, I petitioned to be in this class for undergraduates, taught by Alex Kotlowitz, who wrote the book There Are No Children Here, and is a great Chicago author. And that, the name of the class was Journalism of Empathy, and it was about long-form profiles of people who are on the margins of society, and that was a really great class. I can't recommend it enough.
I took the global class, even though I did not do global, but I just thought it was really cool because, even though I wasn't going to go abroad, it taught me, skills related to just talking to people you are not familiar with. And going into foreign environments. So that's really helpful.
Travel writing, because who doesn't want to run a 10-mile run on the south side of Chicago and then injure themselves and still not be able to run from it? No, travel writing is really great. The professors that teach that are really well known in the journalism fields, particularly in the magazine industry, and it was fantastic. It was just awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to take Nikki's question.
How did you guys kind of manage your time? How do you basically survive the two and not make it through what mistakes did they make?
Wait, so did somebody die? Sorry, that's really bad. Didn't mean that to be grotesque. No, you know what? So I think the best advice is don't freak out. From someone who's done grad school twice now, it's really not worth your time or energy to get overwhelmed with it, and you're the only one that will overwhelm you. So you'll definitely get through it, and it definitely will be tough, and you'll definitely be stressed out, but there's no reason to go home crying and freaking out about it, because you will come out on the other side. I will say that I'm also crazy. I broke Janice's rule and don't do this. I'm an idiot, and Karen Springen, who's my methods professor, is back there. But I worked during my first quarter as a bartender. I bartended, and worst decision of my life. Really, really hard. Don't do that. But I still did it, right? So I survived. I'm here. I'm working, and you'll get through it.
To your first question, my undergraduate degree was in anthropology. It was basically liberal arts kind of thing. Coming to grad school, I think the biggest change was actually feeling like I had control over what I was doing. And I think the advice I have is to really, when you approach class assignments, you don't have to stick to it to a T. Figure out ways to get the most out of it as you possibly can. And if that means, approaching it in a different way, talk to your professor, see if you can do something different. You don't have to always just adhere to the given assignment. Try, thinking of new ways of approaching it. And they love that stuff here.
Thank you. Thank you all. I would like to thank our alumni who've come spoken with us, share with you. Thank you, Bill and Brittany and Bethany and Todd and Jordan and Melina. You can see why I'm quite proud of them and quite honored to know them. They're going to be here for a little while longer, correct? We're going to take a 10-minute break. So get up, everybody, get up, stretch, go out and walk, get some water, talk with our alums. We're going to be back here at 11:40 for our faculty panel, 11:40 for the faculty panel.